Welcome to CHL Rewind. I'm Hammett2717. I am going to be doing this riding solo today. Just decided to do a show. We haven't done one in a little bit. Down to the wire. We are now 2 days to the end of week 7, which means one more week for those borderline teams before we hit playoff stretch. It's getting down to the wire. We got some great games tonight, some playoff implementing games. We have the Spirit versus the Otters tonight. A 4 versus 5. That's a preview into the playoffs. So that would be an interesting game to watch if they are streaming it. A little bit of a preview of what we're going to see coming down into the playoffs. We have the Huskies and Ramparts going at it tonight. That's an 8:30 Eastern game. Going to see who they have in the lineup here. Looks like Gosta Spear, Hades Spawn, DJ Unreal, Rockpile going up against ZV27 Cage. Top lines coming out. Guys are showing what they have in week 7. Definitely hoping that game stream because I am definitely watching that one. That is going to be a battle. We have the Knights versus the Bulldogs. Both those guys looking at playoffs. Going up against playoff teams, going to see what they're going to roll. Looking at the depth, just seeing where they stand. Both those teams, like I said, are both in playoff positions. Got the Bulldogs that are sitting at 5, and you got the Knights that are sitting at 2. The Knights have already clinched their playoff spot. The Bulldogs are sitting at 67 points, 3 underneath the Battalion. So that's 2 points that they're going to need to get one behind the Battalion. Going for that 4th spot where the Knights, they could possibly catch the Sting still. The Sting are at 82 points where the Knights are at 75. You got the Greyhounds sniffing their trail. They're at 74 points. So that division still could see a possible top seed still coming out of there. You got the Ice Dogs in front next. They're sitting on top of the East looking pretty, 94 and 93. So there's another one where it's possible where there could be an overtake of who's the top team in the OHL East. We also have the Swift Current Broncos versus the Brandon Wheat Kings. That is a wild card matchup right now. You got the Broncos that are sitting at 57, the last spot in the playoffs for the W. They're at 57 points, and the Wheat Kings are sitting in 14th with 63. You got the Tri-City Americans sitting at 62 in between them. So any of those 2 points are very valuable. So that's another matchup tonight to be on the lookouts for. You got Calgary versus the Red Deer Rebels. Battle for 3rd place in the division. Both teams are sitting at 67 points. Calgary holds the tiebreaker with the 1 extra win, where Red Deer has the extra 2 overtime losses. Both teams are sending out quality lines. There are a couple of TCD in that game. It's going to be down to goaltending and who can put up the most points in that one. Red Deer's got a couple of wins over the Hitmen this season, but the Hitmen have came close plenty of times. Coming up short by 2 or 1 goal games. So Calgary's coming on the prowl on that one, trying to get those extra 2 points to get over Red Deer and take over third soundly. You also have the Voltigeurs versus the Armada. Voltigeurs are sitting in 8th place. The Armada is in the 11th. They're only between each other by 7 points. Those 2 points can get Armada into the 10th spot and the Voltigeurs away from the Mountain Wildcats. They're both tied at 66 points. So that is the matchups for tonight to be on the lookout for. Good luck to all the teams tonight. Some of the people wanted me to go over the effects of the roster lock. I'm now in my 3rd season of management, 2 seasons of owner. I was AGM for the Pete's back in season 3. So roster lock is a little different. A lot of teams, new owners aren't used to it. Roster lock, you are not allowed to make any internal moves all the way from the NHL, the AHL to the CHL. Everybody has roster lock. So what happens is, unless somebody is banned or quits, there are no moves up to roster unless somebody is on IR. This can affect a lot of teams. Most teams make huge trades at the deadline. Maybe you made the right trade, maybe you didn't. You don't know until after this roster lock. A lot of guys are feeling the hurt because teams traded their players. They aren't responding to them. The sand until they get them removed. That's a guy they have to ECU for, which can hurt you if you are in a playoff race. You also get where you don't know guys' availabilities. They might match up with another one of your defensemen. So you have 2 defensemen fighting for the same spot in the same games. So you might have one guy only playing 2 games. It's just the way it works out. That's another way roster lock can hurt you. You think, hey, this guy can make roster hill gel with the players we have. In week 7 and you realize, hey, he's not working out. Well, you're in roster lock now. You're unless he quits or you find some way to ban him. So it's going to put a lot of teams to the test. You got where you also have to remind your training camp players, hey, we need you guys to be active, normal in the playoffs, where you get your 2 games on Sunday. You play 1 game Sunday, you play 1 game Monday, you play 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday, and 1 game on Thursday. My one defenseman can only sign up for Wednesdays and Thursdays. He's got to be played for either Sunday, Monday, or in Tuesday. Well, that's where your ECUs come in. I mean, that's what happens. You have to schedule that player. That is his scheduled game. So that's another thing where a lot of these new owners are going to get woken up. Well, my top player can only play Tuesday. Well, you better get him in game 3 and 4. Well, this guy can only play Sunday and Thursday. It's like he's going game 1 and game 7. You're going to have to ECU for him in game 4. That's one of those things where, hey, it happens. So that's another thing with positional or roster lock. It kind of sucks. Don't get me wrong, but say you have an amateur player, well, you can sleep a little bit better unless somebody gets banged up in the AHL because they can't make any moves. So it's one of those where it kind of helps you out, but at the same time, you got to make it work. And this is where you're going to see the more experienced owners maybe prevail because the new owners aren't used to this. It's been in the league for seasons now. So it's to see who prevails, who hiccups. You're going to find your depth at TC. If you don't have the depth at TC, we might be seeing forfeits in the playoffs. I hate to say it, but it might be possible. You might get that forward that only can play left wing. Yeah, well, sorry, bud. So we don't forfeit. It's one of those you kind of just shrug and take your licking. So that's the whole thing on roster lock. Let's go and talk about some trades that happened over the weekend. A lot of guys getting shipped around. Let's see here. We got here. iChirp. iChirp was one of the top forwards on Swift Current. He goes over to the Ice Dogs for Dark Welfare and Heatley in 07. We got Killer Snipes, veteran in the league. He goes to the Remparts for 3T38. A little bit of a defenseman swap there. We have guys going 3-for-3 deals. Some guys sending some TCs for nothing, helping out other teams. Hey, look, dude, I don't have a TC at left wing. Can you help me out? Yeah, sure, no problem. I have 4. It's one of those deals where, here, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, kind of ordeal. That goes back to my roster lock thing. You got to have ECUs at every position. So when you take a look at your roster and say, I don't have a TC lefty, up something for it, but it's probably going to help you in the long run. It's one of those get a little, take a little. Gatzel goes from the Victoria Royals to the Munton Wildcats for Rampage and Deke. That's right. Pidla. So Gatzel's now goes from over to the Q. We got Hot Wheels gets sent to the Cougars. They're looking to get some defensive and goaltending help there. For Kung Fu Hamster and Mega Sour Power. Baby Deke went to the Bulldogs. Received a ban for inactivity. So that's one of those where guy doesn't like where he's either going or he wasn't active. You don't know these players and making trades at the deadline. It's a toss up in the air, and with a roster lock, you have to go through the 72-hour guys or give them their 3 strikes just to get them off your roster. So, like I said, training camp comes in huge week 7 and 8. B Brawler 84 and Charbonia, I'm probably saying that wrong, goes to the Portland Winterhawks for Davy Jones, Beauty Gem, Cratchy, and Brendow 55. We got Rock Out with Your Glock Out, Amcluis for Towers 86. What else we got here? 5-hole. Just joined the league. He goes to the Hamilton Bulldogs for OG Cora. Ace Kurt was also added in on the Silver Tips end. What else do we have here? Avalanche City, Captain Carl, go from the Portland Winterhawks over to the Kenona Rockets for JJ Finis. Trading within the division, so hopefully both teams get out what they were hoping to get there. Big trade out of the queue between conference opponents, Vortex 94 and Shaggy 42. Sea Dogs for Bull Breed 333. I believe Bull is on the Xbox side also. So Silky was looking to grab him. Gives up a goaltending, which has been a rough spot for the Sea Dogs this season. Sea Dogs are fighting to get into the playoffs. They're currently 15th place in their conference. Would be facing the number 2 team in the queue, where Valdor has clearly clinched their conference. So that's one of those, we need just that tad bit more scoring power, and the Sea Dogs get the goaltending that they've been looking for. That, to me, looks like both teams got what they were looking for out of that one. You have Hadtastic and Snipe You One Shot going to the Swift Current Broncos for Scooby. Billy had to make a little bit of I think he had cap room on that for Scooby's 8 mil hits. The Swift Current Broncos get a scoring threat in Habtastic. Definitely has stood out this season. Let's see who we got else we got. Big Tizzle goes over to the Kootenai Ice for Leafs Rock. Looking for that, experienced defenseman. And then Jake Dogs and Card Shark getting Leafs Rock, who isn't bad. He's a prospect. Tizzle was actually the owner of the Owen Sound after Kevin Hess was respectfully asked to walk away. What else do we have here? We have the trade of Dylan Bells. He was up in the AHL until being put on waivers. 47 and Chronic 04 go to the Regina Pats or Regina Pats for Scrumsy, returning veteran. Well, we have Rembrandt. I'm probably saying that wrong. Was sent from Dakar. The Charleston Islanders for the Truth. Up in some wings. A lot of Getzel trades. Getzel looks like started in the Ice. He went to the Ramparts. Ramparts to the Pats. Went from the Pats to the Huskies. And then I believe from the Huskies he went to the Victoriaville Royals. From the Royals is where he went to the Mountain Wildcats. So that's where knew his trade value and knew that they could get where you can get value for that kind of player. Everybody knows what Gansel's been able to do this season. I don't currently have stats, so I don't know where he sits, but I know he is up towards the leaderboard. I will actually take a look at that for you guys here in a second. Ghost Pass. Oh. Not able to find him currently at the moment. Let's try this. Gansel is 11-4 with 65 points. He's got 24 goals, 21 assists, a plus 34. So, like I said, he's one of those where it's player winning 11 of his games out of 15. So, definitely a threat in the scoring. Was scoring 24 goals, setting up a lot of his teammates. His shooting percentage is almost 30%. Um, yeah, definitely an elite player. So that's one of those where you get tons of trade value for him. You take that one elite player and you get three guys that you know are solid players. They aren't that elite player, but they'll, um, you know, with the Munton Royals trade, it's one of those where Rampage, a very versatile player, can't put him with Gansel's uh, class. He isn't an elite player, but Gansel, I just think, is the more player. Where you get Rampage that's got 49 points. It's 10-5-1. He's got 29 goals, 20 assists, plus 20. Still solid numbers, but you're still, what is that, like 25 points behind him, 14 points, and about the same amount of games. So you can go from maybe a 3 points a game player to a 2 points a game player. Still not a bad player, but it's one of those where you get that next elite player. Big news out of this week was also Vaz Sniper's 2-week suspension. That's one of those where he didn't have the correct amount of players on the roster and didn't have enough money to put those two players on his roster. So I don't know the whole fallout of that. So see, he won an appeal. I'm not sure about that appeal. I'm not privileged to that information yet. But big news happened about an hour ago. MJ decided to step down as the Kootenay Rockets. It looks like Don Cope went from GM to owner, and then Fitness went from AGM to GM. I don't know exactly what the details are. I just happened to check on the news feed on that one. Other than that, that's a weird one to me. Magier's been, I believe this would be his second season of owner, third season of management. He was with Cam last season with the Spirit, and they went for a long run and ran into a hot Barry Colts team. It's either health, family, job. I don't know the exact details, but step down. It has to be a personal reason. That team's been clicking on all cylinders, being one of the top teams in the W. Trying to see what else. The Regina Pats clinched a spot last night. Actually, I believe quite a few teams clinched this week. I want to say for some reason my internet just started working. LG's not working for me. Where we're at least my news feed stopped. So that's one of those things where, let's see what the Rockets are at. Yeah, Rockets have clinched a wild card spot at least. They're second in their division behind the Blazers at 86 points. So my guess, it has to be personal reasons. I'll be sure to touch on that next show we have. So now I'm actually going to go and look here. Okay, so we got in the queue teams that have clinched so far: Valdor, the Ramparts, Screaming Eagles, Duff McCormick and the Olympics, St. Louis Dash, and the Victoriaville Tigers. You got the boys of the Huskies and the Charleston Islanders. The top 7 in that division have clinched. You got the Voltigeurs, the Wildcats, Titans, Armada, Oceanic, the Phoenix, Mooseheads, Sea Dogs, and Dakar. Rounding out that conference at the moment, you got the Cataracts that are at 45 points. Dakar holds the tiebreaker by that one extra win. And you have the Sanguinis that are, I'd say, probably eliminated tonight, if not by tomorrow. If they don't win a couple of games here soon, they're sitting at 29 points. The W is just so tight. So many teams, so close. You got the Pats, the Blazers, and the Rockets. Far. You got the Silver Tips that now overtook the Portland Winterhawks by 1 point. You got the Thunderbirds sitting in third in that division. Royals at 71 points. You got the Ice, the Oil Kings, the Hitmen, the Saskatoon Blades, Prince Albert Raiders, the Red Deer Rebels, Brandon Wheat King, who's that? Tri-City Americans, and the Swift Current Broncos. And from the 16th is 10 points. You got the Cougars at in the 17th spot with 53. So 4 points behind the Broncos. You got the Giants 6 points, along with the Hurricanes and against Moose Jaw. So you have the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't given up yet. Those guys are still clawing their ways, trying to get that last spot. And then you have Medicine Hat, the only team that's been eliminated so far, with their total of 9 wins. It's one of those forfeits caught up to them. So we'll go to the O. The O, you have the Ice Dogs, Frontenacs, the Sting, the Knights, Greyhounds, and the Otters all have clinched their playoff spots. You got the 67s in third, Battalion in fourth, Bulldogs at 5, Pete's at 6, Steelheads at 7, and the Generals at 8, with the Wolves at 60 points, and the Generals with 61. So right there, that one's going to come down to the wire. I mean, you got 4 teams within 4 points. So race to 6th position where the Pete's are. Some teams might even be able to threaten the Bulldogs. It's hard to say. Next week will definitely be crucial games. The Sting at 82 in the Western. The Knights, the Greyhounds, and the Otters. It's a little bit more spread out on that side. The Rangers are close. They're only 3 points behind the Firebirds for 8th place. At 30. They're also missing a game. So it's a slim chance, but I'm sure Diggy won't give up. He'll his team see if they can pull off some upsets in the next 10 to 12 games. That's in 24 points still available. I believe, what are we at 16? 16. 3. It's 12 games left. So that's a total of 24 points, which could send him up to 54. It's possible. So D, shout out to you, bud. Don't give up. See if you can do something. All teams, play your butts out, even if it's a slim chance. Set. Ruin somebody's season. That's just play your hearts out. Not going to get everyone, but hey, go down fighting. Anything can happen. It's virtual gaming. I mean, it's anything. It's supposed to EA momentum. You know, anything can happen. Let's see what else. There it is. Let's go. Players of the week. Hold on, it's taking me a sec to get there. players of the week were, you have Detroit Red Wings, 3-0 with 23 points, a plus 16. You got Chips Ahoy, went 3-0 with 18 points, a plus 13, and Chig, I'm probably saying that wrong, had 18 points and 12. For defense, you had Infamous. He had 9 points with a plus 14. Big C, 97-91, had 8 points with a plus 10. Sergeant Barnes, he had 3 points with a plus 10. So those are your top 3 for defense. Goalies, you got McDizzle, 9909. He was 3-1 with a 2 with an 87.1 save percentage. You got the Brandon Wheat Kings goalie, Lonely Star 1, went 4-1 with a 2.62 with an 80.3 save percentage. Yoshi Swagger for the Blazers, he went 5-1 with a 2.00 goals against with an 85.2 save percentage. So those are your players of the week for week 6. Your top team in week 6 coming in at number 1 were the Olympics. Number 2 was the Remparts. They went 7-1-1. You have the Hamilton Bulldogs. You have the Blazers at 4. They went 8-1. The Knights are at 5 with a 7-2. You have in the 6th spot the Silvertips. They went 7-2. The Ice Dogs went 7-1. They must have had a forfeit in there. You have the Brandon Wheat Kings, 8-1. Definitely playing some good hockey, trying to get that top wild card spot. You got the Portland Winterhawks, who went 6-2-1, and then rounding out the top 10 was the Kingston Frontenacs. They went 7-2. You know what? We'll do top 15. At number 11 was Valdor. They were 6-2. We'll have the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. They went 6-2. At 13 was the Regina Pats. They went 7-2. And 14th, you have the Calgary Hitmen at 6-3. And then in the 15th spot, you have the Sarnia Sting going 6-1-1. And that's your top 15 for week 6. And that is the top news for week 6. We will be back later this week. Might have a couple of special guests. Not sure yet. If not, you will be listening to my lovely voice again. Let's say I'm going to do probably Sunday afternoon. So be on the lookout for the CHL Rewind. Sunday, we'll say around 3 Eastern. We'll get you up to date on who's hot, who's not. Won't have any trades to talk about because of roster locks. But we'll give you who's hot out of week 7. Give you a little bit of a playoff preview with teams looking in, who's looking out. Other than that, also I'll have an update on the Mazier thing. So be in tune with that. Sunday around 3 Eastern. This is Hammond 2717 signing off.